All right, you guys, so this is a continuation from our lesson last class where we were looking at things in standard form, vertex form, and factored form. I've officially written your test and it's a really good one. It's super fair and it covers like everything really nicely. Yep. Doesn't matter. Why? What if I said 10 pages? Then you'd panic. What if I said 2 pages and you'd feel good? Just wait until you get it and then you'll see how many pages. It's 4 pages. It's actually three, but I wanted to give you a lot of room to do calculations. So think of it as 3 pages. Okay, so this question here is really going to help you prepare for the test on Friday. So let's do all the questions together. Complete the chart and use the information to graph. We have this equation here, y is equal to 2x squared minus 4x minus 16. You guys, what form is this in? Standard, vertex, or factored? Yep. This is in standard form. Now, just don't be confused by the different columns. We're going to use this equation to do all of our calculations. And we're just going to fill out all of these different columns. So standard form looks like this, which is what the equation is in already. Yep. I am, yeah. What is the y-intercept? So when something is in standard form, the y-intercept is really, really easy to find. Because first of all, we know to calculate the y-intercept, we're going to let x equal to 0. And because this question is under the standard form column, I'm going to use, I'm not going to change it to anything. I'm going to keep it in standard form. So my equation is y is equal to 2x squared minus 4x minus 16. And to find the y-intercept, wherever I have an x, I'm going to put in a 0 and I'm going to solve. So it's going to be 2 times 0 squared minus 4 times 0 minus 16. And the reason why standard form is really, really good in finding the y-intercept, because look, this number disappears, and all you're left with is that very last number. So therefore, our y-intercept is going to be at 0, negative 16. You guys make sure whenever we're talking about the x or y intercept, you tell me the actual coordinate. I want to know like the actual point that it is. So if you left your answer like this, y is equal to negative 16, you're not actually answering the question. You're not telling me the actual coordinate of the y intercept. Okay, so I will take off half a mark if you don't do that. When is standard form useful? It's really useful to find the y intercept. So I'm not going to, you can just write that down. I'll just say it orally. But standard form is great when you want to find out the y intercept. Now, because we're going to be using all of this information to graph, while we're doing it, I'm going to actually go ahead and put the values in. So at 0, negative 16, I hope I gave you enough spots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Right over here, you're going to have a point at your y-intercept. All right, factored form. So first, we're going to convert this to factored form. And to do that, we need to remember how to factor. So we're going to take our original equation, which is y is equal to 2x squared minus 4x minus 16. Do you guys see a greatest common factor in this question? Yeah, and it is. Yep, it's just a 2. So it's going to be x squared minus 2x minus 8. And then we're left with a really nice, simple trinomial. So it's going to be an x and an x. What are 2 numbers that multiply to give you negative 8, but add or subtract to give you negative 2, Jennifer? Negative 4 and positive 2 work really nicely. Now, this question is super scaffolded in that like I break it down step by step. On a test, you can expect the same questions, but maybe not broken up so much. So like eventually I could ask you for, I don't know, various things and maybe not write down all the steps. So the next question says, find the x-intercepts. And to find the x-intercepts, we're going to let y equal to 0. So in factored form, I'm going to go 0 is equal to 2 bracket x minus 4 and x plus 2. We learned this concept on Monday. When something is in factored form and I'm trying to find the x-intercepts, I've let y equal to 0. How exactly do I do that? Is that fair? Yep. 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 Excellent. So you just take each one of your factors, you set them equal to 0, and you solve. So I didn't show that step, but this will become x is equal to 4. This will become x is equal to -2. Just like before, I want to write them as actual coordinates. So my final answer is going to be 4, 0 and -2, 0. And because we're graphing as we're going, I'm also going to just put these points in. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 0 is right there. And then -2, 0 is right there. Krishna? Well, or officially, you know, when you have a line, like if you have something like y is equal to 3x minus 5, and you're trying to find the x-intercept, you let this equal to 0 and you solve for this, right? So I still am using the same concept where I let y equal to 0, but then because you have two x's, you can't really move things around. So you have to factor them and just look at each factor. Yeah, Samira? Sure, I'll show it to you with this one. So you were going to go x plus 2 is equal to 0. You move the positive 2 over to the other side, and you get x is equal to -2. And that's the answer right here. You don't have to show that work. If you could just do it in your head, that's totally fine. All right, using the x-intercepts, find the axis of symmetry. How do we do that? How do we find the axis of symmetry? Krisha? It's also known as the x value of your vertex. So the axis of symmetry and the x value of your vertex are the same thing. This was Monday's class. What do you think, Severe? The first x and the other x, add them together and divide them. Yeah, you take the average of the two x-intercepts. So basically, I'm asking you, if you have an x-intercept here and here, what is the middle point between these two? That would give you the axis of symmetry, and it would give you the x value of your vertex. So you're going to take an average of the 2 points. So how's that going to look? It's going to be x is equal to 4 plus -2. Add these together and then divide by 2. Question? You absolutely can. The only reason this is important is because sometimes, what if you have weird numbers? Like, what if I gave you an x-intercept is 1.682 and another one is 10.953? And then I don't want you to graph it. I just want you to tell me what it is. In that case, you would have to know the formula. But for sure, in all the questions we're doing, it's pretty obvious. Okay. So that's great. Now, using the axis of symmetry, find the coordinates of the vertex. So what we've done is we've basically found the x coordinate of our vertex. How do I find the y coordinate of my vertex? What am I going to do to find the y? Hershey? Yep. So we're going to take x is equal to 1, and we're going to substitute it into either standard form or factored form, whatever is easier for you. And when we learned this, I proved that both of them will give you the same answer. It really doesn't matter which one you pick. I'm going to go ahead and pick standard form. So I'm going to say y is equal to 2 bracket x minus 4 and x plus 2. And now I'm going to take this x is equal to 1, and I'm going to substitute it into both of these x's. So it's going to be 1 minus 4, 1 plus 2. This is going to be -3, and this is going to be 3. And I guess I'm just going to go over here to finish it. -3 times 3 is -9. -9 times 2 is -18. So therefore, our vertex is going to be at 1, -18. And I know this question is not asking for it here, but I'm just going to write it down right here. Therefore, vertex is at 1, -18. And I'm just going to put that in as well right over here. No, that's not 1, -18. 1, -18 is right over here. Now, we actually have enough information, you guys, to graph this. We have x-intercepts, we have the y-intercept, we have the vertex, but let's just finish off that last column and see what they're asking. And then maybe we can confirm that the vertex is indeed correct. So what we're going to do is we're going to convert to vertex form. How do I convert something that's in standard form into vertex form? Shweta? We're going to complete the square. And I told you guys, you do need to know in stuff we learned last week for this test, like completing the square. So let's go over that as an example, and I'll help you review as well. So I'm going to start off by grouping the first two terms together, and it's going to be 2x squared minus 4x minus 16. I'm going to factor out the 2. So I'll be left with x squared minus 2x minus 16. Krisha? But you want this to, because you want the inside of the bracket to be a trinomial, you don't want the x squared to become an x. So even though, yeah, you're right, an x is common, you don't factor it out. I'm going to take this 2 and I'm going to complete the square with it. So really, you're going to think of it as 2 divided by 2, which is a 1. And then 1 squared is a 1. If you did not get completing the square correct on the previous assessment, make sure you learn it for this one, because now it's a second time, right? So hopefully you've gotten enough practice where you know how to do it. Safir? Can you leave what? Yeah. Okay, so now inside the bracket, I am going to add this number. So it's going to be plus 1. Outside the bracket, I'm going to subtract it. I'm going to put big square brackets around everything, and my constant is still going to stay outside. Okay, now inside this bracket, we should have a perfect square trinomial. So when you factor this, and you can go ahead and try to factor it on the side, you should end up with 2 common factors. So x squared minus 2x plus 1, when factored, it's going to be x and x minus 1 and minus 1. And so this is the same as writing x minus 1, all of it squared. Okay, and if you don't get this, you've done something wrong. So make sure when you factor it, you get 2 of the exact same factors. So I'm going to bring that over here and I'm going to write it as such. Krisha? Nope, you don't have to show your work. Definitely not. You can just go ahead and write this directly. And then as my final step, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 2 and I'm going to distribute it here and I'm going to distribute it there. But you don't actually distribute it inside the bracket. You just like glue it onto the bracket. So it's going to be 2 bracket x minus 1 squared. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. And I'm just because I'm running out of room, I'm going to do both those steps at the same time. It's kind of like saying negative 2 minus 16. When you add these together, you're just going to get negative 18. So I'm going to write it down as negative 18. Does that make sense? Okay. What is the vertex from this? So you look at this number and you change the sign. So negative 1 will become positive 1. You take this number exactly as is, and it's going to be 1 comma negative 18. We confirm with our previous answer. And now you can see, you can figure out the vertex in many different ways. You can do it using this form, or you can do it using this form. On the test, I specifically asked you to use a form. So I may have said, like, find the vertex by completing the square, which means I'm forcing you to do this. Or I might give you something in factored form and I say, find the vertex, in which case I want you to do this method right here. All right, last question. What is the axis of symmetry from this? So I really like this because it tells you a little bit of information. This number here gives you your axis of symmetry. I'm just going to actually just write AOS to. So it tells you your axis of symmetry is at x is equal to 1. And this number here tells you your maximum or minimum value. So I know the question didn't ask for it, but this parabola, because it is a positive 2, it has a minimum value at y is equal to negative 18. So minimum at y is equal to -18. So vertex is really powerful, super important. You can answer a lot of questions. When is the vertex useful? It's useful to graph the parabola. It's useful to give you the information about the vertex, axis of symmetry. It's probably the most useful form for parabolas. Okay, go ahead and finish off graphing your parabola. So we're just going to connect all of these points. Make an arrow on both sides, and you want to finish off by writing the equation y is equal to 2x squared so y is equal to 2x squared minus 4x minus 16.